welcome back to the final video about data transformations. So we've gone through the first two steps of creating data transformations, which is the input and transformation step, and now we're up to the output. So the output step is probably the most simple step, to be honest. It's got very few options to configure, and it's basically combining all of the transformations you've just been doing and just telling Yellowfin where you want to write and store those results. So we'll go through and have a look at what we can do with these. I guess one thing to just make sure of is that you must have a writable database to be able to write the data somewhere. So most commonly people will set up their own separate database that's connected in Yellowfin. It has to be set up as a data connection, and then it can just be blank. As long as it's ticked as writable, you'll be able to use it. Okay, so let's get out a storyboard and go have a look. So here's one of the transformations we were working on earlier. Now I've made a few modifications to this, so I'll just talk you through what I've done so far. So I've just got an input step coming from a single table from my database, so from my athlete fact table. Then I'm using my split transformation to be able to bring in just the fields that I want. You'll also notice actually in the input step, I just cut out all the fields that I didn't even want to appear. So when I run this, you'll see that we've just got some really basic data. I've basically just pulled out all the metrics and the date field that I want to look at. Then in my split step, I have selected those fields, and I've used split so that I can actually do two different processes with it. Now, because the reason I did this was I was thinking about that sometimes I want to report off, I want to know the total number of athletes and camps running on a particular day. So from a daily perspective, I want to know a summary of all my key metrics. However, from a different perspective, I might actually want to have a summary per camp. So I'd want to have a list of all my camps and know exactly how much was invoiced, how many athletes attended, what were their ratings, etc. for that camp. So I've pushed the data into a split so that I can actually then do two different aggregations. On the first aggregation, I have included invoice date and I haven't aggregated it, but then I've applied the relevant aggregations to all my other key metrics and pressed apply. This then gives me individual dates and the summarized data of what we've been working on. On the other aggregation, so I've got a completely different connection happening to this one. On this one here, I have removed invoice date. So down here, I've gone remove. And then I've just applied my usual aggregations to everything, except for camp ID, I said none. I don't want to count how many camps I have. I want to see what that camp ID is. So if I press apply on this guy, you'll see I'll get my individual camp IDs, plus then all my aggregated metrics. So this has now sort of completed my transformation step. I've got these into the format that I'm ready to look at, pretend I've renamed the fields and done all those things to clean it all up nicely. Now I need to create the output. And so the output of this would actually be two separate tables, one for each of these final transformations. So I'm going to move to my output steps, and there's only one option here for you to choose from at this stage, which is output to a SQL database. So I'm going to drag in one of those. Then I'm going to connect it to my first different aggregate. Now I can select it and I'm going to configure it. So I need to select which database I want to write this information to. Remember, these have to be set up in your Yellowfin instance already as data sources. Only if they're writable will they appear here. So you'll notice that I do have probably half a dozen data sources set up, but only one of them is writable, and it's called the CSV data source. Then I choose what method I'd like to create my table in. So you've got a bit of logic here that you can check if it's existing or use an existing or drop an existing or something like that. So I'll just use create if does not exist. We'll come back to this little icon here in a minute, but we'll scoot down to now creating what we want the table to be called. So this one is my date summary. So that's what I'm going to call my table. And I can choose a field to index on. So as it's by dates, I'm going to index based on the date column. Then you can choose your insert method. So whether I want to insert, truncate the data, update, or update an insert. So if you're just doing this as a one-off, an insert is fine. If we are doing this on a scheduled basis and I want it to constantly check each day what's happening, then I'd probably want to run an updated insert. And you can add where clauses to these things. So I'll just sort of set these up pretty basic. We'll just tick all of these and go set. Your options here are set or join. So when you're doing, because we're looking at update and insert, it's wanting to know what to check on. So we want to join on invoice date. Okay, and then I simply press apply and we'll see if there are any errors come through with that. No, looks like it's okay. Okay, so no errors appearing, and that one seems to be set up ready to roll. Now for the other side of it, I actually need to set up a separate output step. So I'm going to come back across to my output menu, drag in another output, and connect this one to here. And then exactly the same process. I need to configure what database I want it to write to, give it a name. This one will be my camp summary. So I will index the camp ID. And we again can choose our insert or update. If I don't do an update, I don't have to configure those other rules and things like that. So, you're just going to work out how you want to use it. For our once-off example, I'm just going to go insert and apply. Okay. So with that done, we have now we have now completed the output process. Now you'll notice I'm not getting any previews with these. So if I even click on this preview run button, I won't really get the preview, and that's because of this menu here. So this is actually sort of stopping you from running it while you're in what we call design mode, which is on this page. Now that's really common if you're dealing with lots of data. You don't want to run this complete transformation here. So for an example's sake, I'm going to turn it on and press apply. And now it's actually going to run properly. So it goes through and process. This is a small data set, so it doesn't take very long, so just judge that based on how big your data set is. But that's running it now in design mode. So just be careful, as it has gone nice and red here, to really point out that if you're running this in design mode, you are potentially actually, when you press apply, going and creating that table and things like that as well. So most commonly people leave that off and run it at the very end when they're all finished. Okay, so that is our output step. It is very simple because really, like I said, all you're doing is configuring where you're storing the information and just a few things about the table. Let's scoot back across to our storyboard. The next, or I guess the final things that we just want to look at are just sort of showing you how to publish your flow as well as also running it. So publishing it is the same as any Yellowfin content, whether you're building reports or dashboards or storyboards, you're always kind of using it in this draft mode or design mode, and then you're activating it so that it's available and could actually be really used. So when you're happy with it, you want to publish your transformation. So we're simply saving it and publish it. Only valid fields can be published, so if you do have any errors occurring somewhere, it's not going to let you actually publish it. You can still save it in draft mode, but it won't let you publish it. And so the other thing that you should really think about at this stage as well is how you want to be executing the report, this data. Do you want it to be just a manual thing that you just had to do a once-off to do this cleanup and you never need to update that data? Or do you actually need to run this every day, every week, perhaps even more frequently than that, every minute or hour or something like that? So if you want to schedule it, you're best to just sort of set an automatic task and Yellowfin can just go and do all that scheduling for you, which is really useful. So let's go have a look at those options and how we can publish it. We'll jump back into our data transformation flow. Okay, so across the top here, I think Tom actually took you through some of these options at the very beginning, but these are, not that one. This little calendar one is our schedule. This is where you can enable scheduling. If you don't want to schedule, you just ignore this step, you don't enable it, and you just go straight to your publish button. In my case though, I do want to schedule this because my date data and my camps are constantly growing, so I'm going to just make it go through an update. I can set up notifications and things like that so that people can be notified about it all. So I'll just set this up to be myself. So I'll get an email notification about its success or failure, and then I choose how frequently I want it to update. So I can go down all the way to the minute level, or in our case, I might just say every day, update this at 5 a.m. You can limit the schedule period if you like, so you could do a start and an end date, otherwise it'll just keep running until you stop it. And also, of course, very importantly, you want to be able to have failure notification. Okay, so I'm going to just press submit on that, and that's my schedule. That's all I really need to do, so now I just want to publish it. So give it a name. This is a pretty generic name, but let's you can give it a description explaining what it's doing, and like all Yellowfin content, we want to save it into some folders. So I'm going to save it away with the rest of my transformations. And then press save. Okay, and now that I'm back on my browse page, I can see that my transformation is activated because it's gone colourful instead of just the grey draft mode that they would have been in previously. And that will run according to my schedule. So at 5 a.m. tomorrow, my schedule will run and will push out that data. Now, if you didn't set up a schedule, you actually have to manually come in and push this to go, and sometimes even if you've set up a schedule, maybe you need to manually push it an extra time. So what you can do is just come into the browse page, right click on it and say run transformation, and that will just send a background execution task for them running that transformation within your Yellowfin instance. Now, if you have also set up a schedule, you can manage it in schedule management. So if I come into schedule management over here, we'll be able to see all our different schedules within Yellowfin and find the particular flow we just created and check on its status. And even from here, you can control it to actually say, pause, maybe pause this schedule for the next 5 weeks while we're on Christmas holidays or something like that. Or you can manually run it now, delete it. Even edit will then push you into into editing the transformation back on the usual page you used to see. Okay, well that summarizes data transformations. There's lots more information on our Yellowfin wiki as well, so do keep an eye on that, and keep an eye on your data on the marketplace for any new transformation models that are coming out available as well. Tune in next time.